This is San Diego Pod. Today, my guest is Pete Lemke of Dropkick Coffee. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, man. You
Okay,
nailed
good,
it.
good.
Yeah.
All right. So Pete owns Dropkick Coffee, which, by the way, if you want some good horchata cold brew, this is the stuff. We're gonna have some here in the studio. But Pete, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I'm a San Diego guy. Been here about 15 years. Actually, this month will be my 16th month. Came from Arizona. And probably jumping just right into Dropkick. I've been owning operating businesses here since 2011. And we acquired this in COVID during the pandemic. It was one of those walkaway businesses. You hear people who are just, over it or having their challenges, and then the world shuts down. So I fortunately knew a couple people involved with the company, bought it, and have pretty much put aside everything I was doing before that. Like my other businesses, sold our restaurant, kind of downsized, and now I'm all in on this. So coffee's my world, and I think it's going to always be until either we sell or I retire.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is like a new thing for me to say. I've actually been saying that very often because I've always kind of had, we had a media agency. I was in the bus industry. We still we're selling our bar right now, but we owned a restaurant downtown. So I was always kind of like, I got like this muscle in me that was always hands in several different businesses. And I think I enjoy it a lot more now, consolidating down to one, because the ceiling's so high with Dropkick. Like we just started getting into new states and we're launching new products. So I think for my sanity's sake, I love the fact, just building this as much as possible.
Yeah, I love how most people during COVID wanted to play it safe and like sit on the sidelines. And you're like, nah, you know what? Let me go buy a new business during the hardest time possible
Yeah.
in one of the most competitive spaces possible.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you guys are thriving. So what was that like during COVID? How did that come up? And then, what did you do when you bought it?
Yeah. Well, I kind of smile about it now, and I'm very lighthearted, but it was really hard. Like very, very hard. And to add on top of it, like you said, terrible timing and everything else, people were kind of like in fear and playing safe. We were actually opening our restaurant downtown. We had a poke restaurant right across from Petco Park, and our opening weekend was opening weekend of the Padres, which was March 20 something. The world shut down March 20. So we're within the week of opening, we had this really great grand opening. We were going to be part of the block party, aligned with the Padres, all that. And so we really got that was shattered. And like, it's so funny that how it all kind of tied together is I'd known the guys behind this company before. It used to be called 7 Cold Brew, and I was supporting them. So I used to have their cold brew at my office. And then when we launched a restaurant, I said, hey, I want to pour your cold brew at our poke shop. And so one of the owners, because they'd furloughed their staff, he was bringing down a keg. We were dealing with all the oh, we can't open, you can't have people inside, like all that nonsense. But he was bringing a keg down, and while he was there, I was just catching up with him. How are you guys doing? And he said, hey man, I think the original founder, his name was Heath. He's like, I think he's just gonna walk away. He's already looking at an estate out in Texas. He had kids in sports here, and he used to be a pro ball player. So he's like, yeah, he's getting his family out. I think he's done. He's already had a really challenging 3 years running this. And so I just I couldn't help myself. I'm like, well, let me come down. Let me come down. I'd always been a customer. I'd always loved the coffee. But I never really seen the operation. So I said, let me come down to the brewery. Let me kind of take a look behind the curtains, make sure nothing's absolutely on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And we struck a really fair deal given the circumstances. COVID, he wanted out. So it was a really fast and loose deal, and it was kind of bizarre because we started managing. I knew we couldn't keep the company furloughed.
Yeah.
So we started managing his employees before the ink was dry, which was really bizarre.
Yeah.
But we just knew hey, we're going to lose distribution. We're going to lose momentum. We have to keep things going. And so, yeah, it was a wild story, man.
Sounds like entrepreneurship 101 right there. Cause you spot an opportunity, you have the balls to see beyond all of the fear that's going on, and you can see where it's going. And you also trust yourself enough to get it from point A to point B. So I guess my question is, how many failures did you have before that? And how many successes did you have before that that kind of made you feel like this was a good decision to go into?
Um, I've had a fair share of both. I think my failures have become more micro, um, which is fine. I brush off those really easy, and I think my macro failures I don't have as long of a list,
Yeah.
which I'd rather it that way. So I think yes, having those, if I didn't have the failures on my resume, I wouldn't know a good opportunity, or I wouldn't know how to. I wouldn't have as good of a sniff test on an opportunity or business like this, because when you're new, there's like a healthy level of being naive,
Yeah.
but it can also get you caught in a little bit in trouble.
Right.
And I think for me, I've gotten a lot better about even now. Like I think one of my responsibilities is, I hate titles, but like as CEO of the company, is like really identifying opportunities and vetting opportunities for Dropkick, because if we're gonna grow, and that's our plan, someone's kind of got to be the growth mindset and always looking out for that.
Yeah.
So, if I didn't trip and fall so many times, I wouldn't know what it felt like, or I wouldn't know how to like spot it before it happens,
Yep.
which is great. But I have plenty.
Yeah, I mean, I think failure is part of the process. Like people, I heard a quote recently it was, some Instagram motivational account, but it basically said if you were 15 failures away from your next major success, like how fast would you continue to fail? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have to fail. It's just learning. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
see failure as a negative thing. I see it as something that's necessary. Because like, if you want to learn how to throw a football, like you're not going to throw a perfect spiral the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's just gotten so bad about failure now is people are more concerned about, you know, I think I wrote something along these lines is, think about sometime if you're walking down the street and you trip and fall, the first thing you do is look to see if anybody else saw, right? Instead of looking to see if you're okay.
Yeah.
And that's like, that summarizes for me, like that's social media and how we're operating is like, we're more worried about what is the response or reaction from other people our fail, not our own.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a business partner recently about this. I'm like, I'm so grateful that I really like kind of got my paddle wet in business before social media was as popular as it is.
By the way, sponsored by Dropkicks. This is really good.
I
Like
love
it
that.
is, it is really good.
I love that.
And sorry, anyways, didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, I was talking recently. I'm really thankful. I kind of I started my career in entrepreneurism before social media was as popular as it is, because right now we're so hypercritical on, like how failures are being received.
mm,
And that's just part of the game. I mean, it's even outside of business, like being married. Marriage, there's failures. There's always, you're gonna drop the ball. Something's gonna go wrong. But the idea is how do we get through it together and learn?
yeah,
And in marriage, you can't be worried about what other people think.
yeah.
So I really feel for the people who are kind of operating their day to day or their business on that, because man, it just makes things even harder if you're worried about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
Hmm.
then another thing I think in business is having some sort of structure, right? Like how do we mitigate against failure? Well, it's to have predictability. So I know that when you bought into Dropkicks, you were really big on building and establishing SOPs and systems and making
Hmm.
sure that things are running smoothly. So what was that like when you took over? You said it was kind of things were they sort of more loose, or how were the operations?
Yeah, so we probably spent the first 6 to 12 months vetting everything. Even like, we love the recipe, we love the cold brew, but we're also self-aware enough to be like, okay, what does everybody else? And so we brought in like a small, it was like 20, 25 people, and blind surveyed them. So we use a bean we import from Guatemala.
Hmm.
Um, and we brewed a keg of that, and then we did like 6 or 7 other kegs of cold brew with a bean from Mexico, Costa Rica, Brazil, just to kind of do a side by side so people could try it. And fortunately, everybody loved the bean we were using and are currently using. But then we had to kind of unpack everything as far as how the operation was running, because we're a coffee company, but we're in manufacturing. Everything that comes out of Dropkick we make, which is really cool. So we import it in, we roast it, we brew it, we can it, we keg it. And I'm fortunate. I have a business partner who, like, he's got 20 years of that hands-on experience in operation. So we kind of had to watch their employees and team show us how they were doing it, unlearn some things,
Yeah.
and then there were certain practices we kept in place, but then kind of stamping it with our approval on, okay, here's how we're going to do it moving forward. And honestly, we meet every month and we review our production operations and whatnot, and how we can improve, especially with like automation.
Yes.
We're looking at some like great new forms of automation to speed things up, because if we're not staying ahead of that, or staying ahead of equipment needs or all that, then we're gonna do things so much harder and longer than we need to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people get comfortable too, and they continue to do the same things day after day, which is proven. But then when somebody else, a younger, stronger, healthier competition comes in, and they're seeing the future, they're seeing where AI is going, where robotics are going. When you say automations, are you talking more about the manufacturing side or like AI?
Well, actually both. So we just tied in a software that kind of connects our sales and service team to our operations, productions, delivery team. But also too, like there's equipment, like there's roasting equipment, and there's equipment in like the actual brewery room that makes things more automated,
Right.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I have another one of my other partners. She's very like in front of what's happening in AI and all
Yeah.
that. So I'm kind of a dinosaur with shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I'm just like I'm even like bad about updating my iOS on my phone. I'm just
Well, it's not your strength,
yeah, no.
right? And
So
and I think like in business, people want to do everything, but really, in the longer that I've been in business, I'm learning that, like my other business that's pretty successful, it wasn't successful until I started getting other people in the spots that I was not good at,
mhm.
right? So with Dropkicks, how many people are on your staff?
So we have in-house 10 or 11, which is great. And I don't really want to grow that number a lot.
Yeah.
What's good is we have 5 distribution companies, and they all have large sales forces. So we kind of have extensions of our team that we work with closely. Like we have some sales reps out, our distributors that like feel like they're one of us. But for us, I'm always challenging our team. I don't want to have a 50-person army in our brewery, so I want to make sure we stay ahead of like investing in equipment and processes that'll like, kind of limit the hands on the product.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you guys are lean. That's really good.
yeah. Which I tell everyone, is we're a lean team, which means like everybody's gonna have a full plate.
Yeah.
And I also like everybody has to be the best of the best, and that sounds super cheesy, but like when you have a smaller team, then you don't have to like, man, back in the day when we had multiple companies, I felt like we were like a part-time hiring, like recruiting company.
Yeah.
And cause you got to keep bodies filled here. Like right now we're actually putting on an ad, that we're looking for another production assistant in our shop. And I just gave this like pep talk, maybe like, guys, let's always maintain our standard. Like, I always say, let's find someone we're excited about. We're excited about them starting, excited about hiring, because we don't have a big team. So like, I guess that's maybe the benefit is, you can hire, like we have awesome guys and girls working for us. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think that culture is one of the more important parts of a business?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think especially, good culture is really important, but I think more important is keeping bad culture out.
Mhm.
Because, when you have a bad employee, somebody who's toxic, and you don't always know, sometimes they don't always look that way, but when we have cut out the tumor, meaning like a bad employee who's,
Mhm.
because they infect other people, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then that spreads like cancer.
Yes, I've had that happen. And I said that, a bad seed can spoil the whole orchard. It's so true. It's crazy too. And I was talking to my best friend in Connecticut. He's got 4 kids. And I was talking to him. He's also very successful work, but those type of employees, I was talking to him about in kids terms with his 4 kids, is someone pointed out, if you think about it, you're like most problematic employees you typically spend the most time on, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's like problem solving, coddling, just investing your time on them because they're, either high maintenance problem, whatever. And someone told me like, hey, you're kind of, the opportunity cost then is you're not giving the time to those incredible employees, the good people, because your assumption is, oh, they're fine. So I don't need my time. And you're investing all your time. And I was talking to him about it because one of his 4 kids was just being a thorn. And it was the same thing as like, when a kid's bad, typically you just smother them with your time. And other like kids are just, they're so great. You don't so I've been very mindful of that. And I've also been very mindful of catching someone before they turn.
Yeah.
Before they turn, kind of getting the signs, and also just being very upfront with them And I've said this like very candidly, like, hey, this might not be for you,
Hmm.
you know? And this isn't like, hey, this is your last day, but like, let's figure out an exit. Let's
Yeah.
figure out like a good exit because it might not be for you. And when you put it in those terms and you're not being vindictive as an employer and vindictive as an employee, then I feel like that's the cleanest way of separating, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're essentially like you're pointing out and you're giving them what they want. You, if you talk toxically here, then you don't want to be here. So let's
Yeah.
figure out how to get you out of here
Yeah.
in like in a great way. Let's get you somewhere else, you know? So it took a long time to, I guess, kind of adopt that mentality, but it's true.
Yeah, and I mean that shows that you care too, because just because somebody isn't a good fit in your business doesn't mean they won't be somewhere else, right?
Hmm.
And especially like we've had employees that show up late consistently, right? And it's not the biggest problem, but then other people see that and then they think they can show up late, and then it's just like this constant problem that's
Totally.
continuing, and then other people, it just things start to slip, and if you don't nip that in the bud and kind of get them out of there or solve that problem right away, it's going to get worse and worse and get bigger and bigger, and I don't know. So
Totally.
when it comes to San Diego, what are your favorite things about here? I mean, why did you move to San Diego?
That's a great question. Well, I grew up in Arizona, so I feel like now I can say this because I'm a San Diegan. So I have 15 years under my belt. Be, there's Zonies. Zonies come here. We flock to San Diego because it's the easiest drive. It's a 5-hour drive. It's close, and it's so wretchedly hot for half of the year. You know, you got to get out of Dodge. And so I grew up at least once a summer, every summer was driving out here, and my aunt and uncle and cousins lived in Carlsbad. So I think most people in Arizona look at San Diego as kind of like paradise. I feel like most everybody outside of California looked at San Diego as paradise.
Yeah.
So, after college, I wasn't really finding like a career, and I realized I think I need to change my environment. And I'd seen every nook and cranny of Arizona, and I was starting to get like actually bitter and salty about the summer heat.
Yeah.
And so I threw it out there, and two of my best buddies at the time were East Coast guys living in Arizona, and they'd never even seen San Diego. I'm like, hey, just
Yeah.
go there for a weekend with me. If you like it, then let's go together. And we went out for a weekend together, and like everybody does, they fell in love. And then we came back to Arizona. We looked on Craigslist for a place, of course, in PB. And we all we knew was like, okay, it fits our budget, and we saw the like intersection. We're like, okay, it's walking distance to the bars and beach. We're good.
Perfect. Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
15 years ago, it was probably like $1,200 a month.
yeah, it was dumb cheap. And yeah, and I also knew like, I had been a couple years out of college. I was looking at career type jobs. I wanted to like start planning my route somewhere I knew I was going to be permanent. And I was actually like on track to join the fire department in Arizona. And I got cold feet because I'd got my AMT cert. My buddies were like, his dad was a retired captain. So I kind of had all the like political,
Yeah.
like, hey,
Which is
endorsements.
super important with that.
Yeah, and I just got a little cold feet. I'm like, man, you don't just take a fire like this gig on a whim. It's a career. You retire with the department. And so I'm like, I need to go somewhere where I'm confident I want to stay here, and I want to
Yeah.
like start establishing roots here. And I knew San Diego. I mean, I think this will always be my anchor, whether I split time in other locations. But despite all like what's happened with politics and all the nonsense you hear people talk about, the noise online,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I moved here for is still the same.
Yes.
The beaches, the weathers, even the culture,
Yep.
it's still the same. So until that changes, I'm sticking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
San Diego's the best bang for the buck because people always complain about the cost of living here, but it's like, yeah, you have a higher cost of living and it's really expensive, and like the average person can't. I don't know how somebody lives here on minimum wage unless they're living with family or something. But guess what? You also get the beaches, you get the mountains, you get the desert super close, you get perfect weather pretty much year round. Like
Yeah.
you get what you pay for.
I've never understood that either. Like it's kind of going car shopping, a Toyota and a Lexus,
Yeah.
like it costs more for a reason,
Yeah.
and that's not at all being like a snob. Like I've always looked at it like it gives me more motivation to work harder. Like
Yeah.
I should always have to work harder. And I've seen a lot of people move here who kind of still keep the mindset of like forgetting that San Diego is a very expensive place to live, and it's
Yeah.
also paradise. So you can get yourself, and it's a social town. So you can be going out 7 days, 7 nights every single week. And all of a sudden you spiral and you have to leave because you ran out of money.
Yeah.
So I've always looked at it like, dude, I always want this to be my home. I always want to walk out my door and see the ocean, so I'm gonna always have to work very hard to
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah.
And if that changes for me, then Arizona cost of living is great. Other places are like there's no like slide against them, but it's a totally different place to live.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also some people don't prioritize. Like some people are okay living in Ohio and then traveling 2 or 3 times a year on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. I would rather do it the other way, where I live somewhere that people want a vacation, and then I
Mm-hmm.
can go visit my family in other places. I can go back to Boston. I go visit my family in Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and I can go get something different. But then I come back, and every single time, I bet you share the same thing. Every single time I fly back into San Diego, and you leave the airport, you kind of feel the nice air. You see the palm trees. I'm like, oh yeah, why was I
Yeah.
ever thinking of leaving here? You
Yeah.
know?
It's the vacation effect here is like normally when you come back from vacation, you're kind of like, you're kind of down and out. When you fly into the airport here and you're flying literally into the water, into the downtown,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you can't not smile about being back home, no
Yeah.
matter where you're coming from.
Yep.
It's exciting to be back. But I also like, I was originally born in the Midwest and my family's still in Arizona, and I still have not a lot of my friends have kids. I do see a lot of the benefits, and those are just different walks of life. Like my best friends in Connecticut, maybe having more space, more land, and some of those like the Midwest and the Northeast, there's different cultures that might be more fitting. That I honestly, I love going to the Midwest. I
Yeah.
love seeing. He lives in this little town in Connecticut, so I think San Diego fits me, but it might not be a forever thing. I think it'll be my anchor. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love it though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next for Dropkicks? You guys are, where are you guys? I know you're expanding into Vegas, doing things like that.
Yeah, so we launched distribution in Nevada at the end of last year. That's going well, and obviously Vegas is kind of the core of that state. We're in all of Southern California, so we've gotten a lot of great action out in like Palm Springs, the desert area, Riverside. We're up in like LA, Orange County. I'm actually with our teams tomorrow and Wednesday up there. And now since we launched this new product, our concentrate for coffee cocktails, it's got a lot more scalability options. Like these cans you're drinking, they have to be cold stored and they have a 4-month perishable shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
So the concentrate, it's actually been pasteurized and it has a 12-month shelf life, dry stored, doesn't have to be cold stored. So it's really giving us the opportunity to expand outside of state lines, because when you take a 4-month shelf life product, it's just it brings some more challenges
Yeah.
growing.
Well, you got to sell it right away.
Yeah,
And then-
you gotta have what they call anchor accounts. So you gotta like launch and already have some sell through happening, or the distributor is gonna do some sort of buyback clause with you that can make it really hard.
Yeah.
But with this product, it's it gives them a little bit more of a runway to sell. And right now, I'm sure anybody who's listening to this is drinking an espresso martini. It's the #1 cocktail in America and growing. So we're kind of like leaning into that and being the coffee mixer for it. So we're talking to distributors. I'm going to Tennessee next weekend. We're talking to a distributor out there, Georgia, Idaho and Oregon. And kind of just now, like, because we've launched with multiple distribution companies in different markets, we're kind of vetting them as much as they're vetting us.
Yeah.
So it's the exciting part. So now, like, to answer the question, I think our biggest priority right now is just expansion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I see you guys everywhere in San Diego. I mean, you guys are in all sorts of shops and convenience stores, and I mean, you guys are all over the place.
Yeah, this is our backyard. I love that this is home, like I love that we have a ton of doors that these are in, between like the 7-Elevens, the groceries, of that. I love the fact, we've been in the clubhouse at Petco Park for 4 or 5 years, but we were always on the visitors side,
Oh,
drinking our coffee. And then this year we actually just got into the home clubhouse. So my partner Samantha, who I was talking about AI and all that, she actually runs a lot of our customer service and does some sales. And she grew up in San Diego. She's a diehard Padres fan. So when we got aligned to the home clubhouse, now she's been over there, and so she's been like nerding out going in there, because she sees Jackson Merrill and these guys in there, and they're also all drinking exclusively our coffee beans and cold brew, and they're letting us now like kind of like style out our area. So we're putting up like some cool Dropkick signage, posters, all that. Gave them one of those custom cold brew machines.
Yeah.
I kind of just went on a tangent on that.
Yeah.
But accounts like that are extra special for us, because this is our home.
dude, and that's again, like, that's part of the culture in San Diego that is Dude, it's just so strong, and especially the Padres too. Their business office and all the things that they do, from what I've seen, is really cool, modern, and I mean Petco is like one of the coolest parks in the MLB, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and we right now, you know, we're supposed to be launching in August the National Beverage Program with Legends Hospitality, which is it was started by Steinbrenner of the Yankees and Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, and it's basically their F&B management company for stadiums. And we've had an ally of ours, this woman who runs their beverage, kind of pushing our product for the last year, and they just this is like a couple weeks new news. They just gave the thumbs up for us to be in their national beverage program at all the arenas. So
Dude.
within a week or two, the first one we're starting it is I forget the name of where the New Orleans Saints play. The Saints, and then right next door is the Smoothie King Arena where the Pelicans play. So that's kind of launching into there, and then we're getting their other venues with that product, the concentrate.
So how much of your business growth has been from relationships?
A lot, yeah, a lot. I mean, San Diego has a lot of relationships. I mean, one of our distributors who does all of the military bases here for us.
Yep.
It's a guy. I actually, when I said I was a sales rep in beverage, he was my boss.
Oh, no
And
way.
then, he grew out of it and started his own distribution company. He started his own water line, other stuff. And when we bought this company, it was a relationship. I called him like, "Hey, are you still in beverage? What are you doing these days?" And he picked us up. He got us authorized in the Navy. And I have so many other stories like that. And same with my partners. We have a really good, like my partners and some of the people who invested, they have deep-seated roots as far as relationships go here that
Yep.
have opened a lot of great doors for us. And I
Yep.
think San Diego is it's great when you're a San Diego, like locally made product. Businesses and retailers are very passionate about supporting that. They
Yeah.
want to support something. I mean, it still has to be a good product, still have to be priced right. But I also know we've gotten a ton of San Diego market share on the fact that we're brewed right there.
Yes.
We're right down the street, come by, and we're actually like open door. Anybody who, especially all the accounts we roast coffee beans for, we always have them come down, walk the facility, taste the coffee. We do a bunch of different pour overs. So I know I'm totally fine admitting we've gotten a lot of our market share here because we're local.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, San Diego specifically, the business community is so tight knit. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, guys like Jeff Fenster, Dan Fulkerson. I mean,
Mhm.
I could go on, but you know, once you know one, and when I first moved here, I was friends with Dan Fulkerson on Facebook.
Mhm.
This was like 2017 or something.
Mhm.
And I didn't know anybody here. I just kind of landed here on accident and was like, well, guess I live in San Diego now.
Mhm.
And I hit up Dan. He took me to the University Club. And I remember we sat in that little corner table, and University Club is on the 32nd or 34th story, and it overlooks the whole city, right? And I
Mhm.
remember he just gave me so much valuable information. He connected me with so many people. And I remember just sitting there, like looking at the city, being like, damn, like, this is
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And if
Yeah.
it weren't for that relationship, I would have, I don't know where I'd be, you know?
Totally.
So,
That's a cool jump off spot to go to. The U Club is like that's a staple, and
yeah.
you get that's really cool. That's a good entry into the city.
Yeah. And I had like I think I had like $5,000 in my account when I moved out
Mhm.
here, barely was making any money. And then I remember thinking, like, oh, one day I'm going to get a membership here. And like 6 months later, I had one. And yeah.
No
So,
kidding.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's rad, man. Yeah, it's a great city, and I know both those guys, and like Fenster
Yeah.
and Dan and them. So yeah, it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, San Diego, man, it's probably one of the best places. But you had mentioned that San Diego will be your anchor, but maybe you'd go somewhere else. Where else would you go? Like, how could you possibly leave San Diego?
I know. I'm aware. Well, a few years ago, I had two of my employees, like a lot of Californians, moved to Nashville, and I really enjoy Nashville. That's why I said I'm going there next weekend. I think wherever I share time, I kind of want it to be an extreme opposite of San Diego.
Yeah.
Somewhere that's like, it's got the weather we don't like here. It gets cold or out like. It's so easy for me. We actually tried buying a place a couple years ago during pandemic up in Big Bear,
Mm-hmm.
just like that retreat spot. And you
Yeah.
come back and I don't necessarily know if this will ever like materialize because San Diego is a hard place. Like anytime I'm gone for more than a couple or a few days, I'm like getting antsy to get back.
Yeah.
But I think wherever it is, I want it to be a stark difference from here. And also too, I'm single, no kids. So I think my answer will probably change too when you have kids and like
Yeah.
dependents. So it's like you might want more space, or you might want more. There's different things, like it's not all just my wants.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's just like I kind of like here, so I'm gonna go here, which is fun for now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the future will bring.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, we just bought a house here, so we're rooting in. We're not going
Oh, yeah.
anywhere. So,
Where at?
Spring Valley, La Mesa area.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah, nice, tucked away in the hills, really peaceful, quiet.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. One of those rare California homeowners. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, it just seemed, I don't think San Diego in terms of the housing market is ever going to go down. So
No.
it seemed like a good investment, and even where rates are right now, it's kind of crazy, but
I know.
yeah,
Good for you,
keep
man.
kicking myself for not doing it year after year. So I'm like, man, we got to, and the right house came up, and it was just, man, one of those kind of San Diego perfect timing sort of things. But
I love that.
so I want to go back and talk about, you had mentioned that you had a sales background before you went into business. And we sort of, before the podcast, talked about how important sales and communication is in business. How successful would Dropkick be if you didn't have that sales background with you being the CEO?
That's a really good question. I don't think you'd be as successful.
Would it be around?
Sure. Yeah, it would. But I mean, a case in point, it's not at all throwing him under the bus, but the previous owner, he actually didn't have any experience, business experience. He was a ball player his whole career. There's certain things you learn from selling the product, especially beverage, about distribution, about the retailers, about all that like you only learn if you're out there feet in the street doing that job.
Yes.
And I think that's why I feel like I see a new pitch deck every week at this point of especially beverage brands. And the first thing I always ask is like, okay, one, who's in charge, and two, what's the sales chain like, or sales org chart like, meaning what's their background, where have they sold? And some of these companies that are doing these crazy pie in the sky evaluations, none of them have ever been. I love this term. Another salesperson told me at the feet in the street. They've never had feet in the street to be like, go out there and get punched in the face with your product and see what it's like. So for me, like, especially because this was what we started with, was our cans, is understanding how to get us into. I was managing Rockstar Energy, and so I was lucky enough to work with all the big buyers. It was Rockstars everywhere, especially back then. So I built relationships, and I also learned the business. And our distributor was Pepsi, so I learned from a lot of the greats at Pepsi. And honestly, like if you go to some of the retailers we're at, like I modeled a lot of our output there on the energy drink more than anything. Like we have POS signage on the doors, even our packaging, everything. Like we're kind of loud like an energy drink. Because I think nitro cold brews kind of taken over and cannibalized some of the energy drink space that people are drinking.
Yeah, I don't drink energy. I drink cold brew only, and I usually only drink black cold brew because I like not having a lot of calories and sugar.
Yeah,
and
same. And but a lot of that was like from like day one when we took the company. That was like the first thing I started doing was, how we're going to get into all those accounts, and it was definitely constant pressure and work. But I wouldn't have known those. Like even we typically always have 2 full-time sales reps working for us in addition to our distributors, but like how I wouldn't know what to have trained them on if I'd never done that before. So I still ride with my sales rep, distributor reps, because I have the most experience with Dropkick, but I was really the only one that had experience actually selling anything beverage before. So it and by no means like we were a no name, nobody knows product. So it was a lot harder. Like Rockstar, I walked in there and it's like, how many you want? What can we, like, it was a very easy exchange. With this, we had to kind of develop some new muscles on how we sell the product in. But if I wouldn't have had that, it's a very long-winded way of saying, I don't know if we would have had the stride we've had. So,
well, I mean, the branding too. The branding is really good, and there's there's a lot of brands out there that half-ass things, and you guys don't seem like you anywhere close to half-ass anything you do.
Mm-hmm.
So your branding is really good. You guys are very loud, but you're not too loud, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not like Red Bull where you're flying, planes in the sky, but everybody seems to know you, especially here
Yeah.
locally. And I don't see that stopping as far as you choose to distribute.
So I do want to answer that half-ass thing because that's a
Okay.
good point. But I also, that the no having experience selling this was also when you said before, like I knew it was a good opportunity when the pandemic happened and this came up, only because I've actually been out there, so I sold. So I had a part of me that kind of screamed like this is a great opportunity because
Yep.
I'd done it before.
Yep.
Now, if this was like, if this was a real estate opportunity, I've never been in, I wouldn't know what to do. So I wouldn't jumped on this or like plenty other opportunities. I jumped on this because I'd had direct experience. And I think that's really important for someone who is getting into a space. A lot of people like will theorize over what they want to do, or they see someone else doing it. And if you haven't done it yet, like that could be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I said that too. It wasn't like, oh man, the whole company was hinging on my experience. I raced towards this opportunity because I had that experience.
Yeah.
And it helped us get off the ground.
Yeah.
The half-assing thing is happening all the time. You're so right, especially in this space. And the reason why is like most all the brands you're drinking or even eating, they're not made by that company. Co-packing's become a huge business. You go to them and sometimes you bring the formulas or recipes. A lot of times they say, we do have the formulas, recipes, and you start like sampling. They have an in-house team. They spit out a couple different versions of a product. Then it's on you to be like, okay, what's the brand, the labeling? Someone will even design the actual packaging for you as well.
Yep.
And as long as you have enough money to put down on their minimum order, you can have a product within sometimes 30 days.
Yeah.
That's happening all the time. And what's tough is like, I get it, the speed to get the market, and it's a lot more ease. You don't have to get in the manufacturing. There's a ton of headaches with that, but it's also creating like, I feel like we're like bastardizing brands now.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, cause you see, so I'm sure you have like anybody, how many since the White Claw craze, how many seltzers, can you even name how many seltzers you've seen out there?
Right.
It's because co-packers, they ran to it. Hey, Kevin, do you have, can you fulfill a 10,000 can minimum? We'll do this, that, and the other. Make it really easy to start off the ground. You want to name it Kevin Seltzer? Perfect. We got that. And you have a seltzer on the market within a month.
Yep.
That's happening all the time.
Yeah.
So now I don't want to say that's half-assing it, but I think like that's a big, like important piece of the pie.
Right.
And it comes with a ton of headaches, but like, we're really proud that we do like we make this.
Yeah. Well, also you retain control over more of your business, right? Because every time that you outsource something, you're giving away control, and then when they change something, you're at kind of the liberty of whatever they choose to do. But when you have control of that, you may have a lot more headaches, but you also have a lot more control and confidence going forward. And then when a COVID happens or challenges that come up, you have a lot more control, and you can actually manage those a little better. At least I think so.
Yeah. I actually have to say this because I'm very passionate about this right now. And co-packing isn't just popular in beverage. It's like there's a lot of co-packers everywhere for like food products and all that. What it's done is it's made it easy. So the heavy lifting of starting a business, we've removed that. As long as you have the cash, you can do it. So it's turned everybody into a marketer. Everybody's marketing a company. And where I had this real moment that really just rubbed me the wrong way is I was at this like beverage expo here locally. And I was at this booth for a product I'd seen before, and I actually liked it. I loved the branding of it. And I wanted to go up to the booth and actually try a couple different samples, get a little intel. And I was asking very elementary, like, hey, what's this? Hey's that? And I was maybe 3 or 4 questions in, and the guy running the booth, he said this, and I'm like, oh. He goes, hey man, let's be honest. He's like, we're not a beverage company, we're a marketing agency.
Yep.
And I go, I couldn't not say him. I'm like, don't ever say that again, ever. And if I don't know if you have a boss around, like that is the worst, but that is a summary of what's going on. Everybody, you see it online, like as far as like influencers and brand, like everybody's just out trying to outmarket the other person. So I think they've lost the core passion about what they're actually making and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
a lot of
important.
it's private labeled, it's like the supplement business. Like,
Yeah.
there's no true like supplements that aren't, it seems like that aren't white labeled.
Yeah. My buddy started a supplement company years ago, and my first question, because he was actually like exploding at the fact like, oh, it's so easy. I found this company. they even designed my logo, this and that. I'm like, if they made it that easy for you, how many other people are they making it that easy for?
Yep.
And I go, it's smart on their part, because think about all these people with millions of people in their on their social media and following whatnot. They need something to attach their brand to make.
Yep.
So I'm like, hey, to my buddy, I'm like, what are you gonna do now? And it didn't work out. You know,
Yeah.
he got his first run of products, this and that, and like it's such a crowded space. But like I'm like, you're gonna have to deploy a lot of money, and you better be really good at marketing that, because the rest of the world is doing what you just did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So
100%.
yeah. But
Well, cool. Well, thank you for coming down to Content Factory. Love putting the spotlight on Dropkick. Not that you guys need it, but Dropkick really is not only just high quality coffee, but a really high quality company. And you can tell they really care about their employees and what they actually do. And again, like in a world that's filled with people that are marketers, you're an actual entrepreneur and business owner that's taking full control and full responsibility for the business. And you're a San Diego business owner that I really look up to. And yeah, thank you for coming down.
oh, my man, thank you. That was a great exit. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Always a
Thanks,
pleasure.
guys.